So, hello everyone. Um, this is the Group 7, and our presentation is called Salt to the Sea, a novel by Ruta Septis. It's a historical young adult fiction. So, let's start. So, the learning objective is to identify the author's historical background and publication details, explain the plot, analyze the main and the minor characters, evaluate the narrative devices, and reflect. So okay, let's start with the publication first. So the publication of Salt to the Sea, released in 2016. The genre is a historical young adult fiction inspired by the true events in World War II. It has won multiple awards, including the Carnegie Medal. So it's a very successful novel um, in the 2010s. Okay, so you know, um, it became so popular to young adults because the story is very relatable to the young people kay ano man siya most of the time ang story kay it talks about a life of a young adult, young like a teenager, etc etc. In Japanese terms, um it's called shonen mangoro. Shonen is like the same genre as adult fiction, which is very popular amongst teenagers. Next is the background of the story. So the time and the place, it was winter 1945, near the end of World War II. Set in Prussia, it's the present day Poland Russia border. Back then it's a country, but karon ko na siya, border na lang siya. So ang historical contents is the Soviet Red Army, or like the Russians, are rapidly advancing westward, forcing millions of civilians and soldiers to flee German-occupied territories. So, ang gibuhatan ni kay ang mga Russian na mga tao is ilang gi-force tong mga refugees na mo pahawa sa mga katong mga land na gisakop sa Germany sa ilaha. Ilang gi-force na i-evict sila kundi kundi musukol ana pangpatyon nila. So this mass movement was known as the East Prussian evacuation, one of the largest refugee crises on World War II. So if you say um, uh, evacuation means no kanang people na ni kanang nihawa sila or nagkuan sila, plano sila na mo evacuate or mabalhin sa safer na place kay tungod lagi ang mga Russian ilan nang gipang kuha balik ang usan dapat na ilaha. So moto na usa ni sa pinaka dako na reason daghan namatay post World War II because you know um, back then in Germany daghan kayo, it was like ground zero where everyone was trying to kill each other. So the natives there flew to the other country para mag better life, but pag kuman sa war mo sa lagi nag ibalik back to normal sa daw. So mo tong ipapalaya sila. Bro, mahog na kind of racist ang mga Russians ani na part. Okay. So background of the story. So um the Wilhelm Gustloff. So as a it's a kuan ni siya. It's a former cruise ship re- re- repurposed by the Nazis to evacuate civilian soldiers and hospital staff. On January 30, 1945, it was torpedoed or the ang torpedo is parang siya missile but like it's underground, like on the water, torpedoed by the Soviet submarines. So casualties and impacts. Estimated 9,000 plus people died, including thousands of children and refugees. Far deadlier than the Titanic or the but often forgotten in the history of course kay yes kaya man siya good German lagi siya basta stay mukha kag mga Nazi Germans, we see them in a bad way. So that's why dili kay siya talk about na usa sa pinaka-disaster na pinaka-disastrous na abandoned ship ng mga moments in the history. So why does it matter in the matter in the novel? So Sepetys wanted to give voice to the forgotten victims of the tragedy. The novels humanize the disaster by showing it through four young narrators' perspective. So the story is being um, has four perspectives, you know. Upat ang bida ni. So yeah, move on. So the main characters, there's Joanna, Florian, Emilia, and Alfred. Joanna is the Lithuanian nurse. Florian is a young Prussian artist, and then Emilia is a Polish girl. Is a young Polish girl, na pregnant, traumatized by war. Alfred is a delusional German sailor, blindly loyal to Nazis. So next up, so let's start with the plot. So in the beginning, back at winter 1944, World War II was nearing its end. Refugees from different countries, you know, Joanna, Florian, Emilia, and Alfred are fleeing the Soviet advance. So, lagi kay itakop na sa mga Russian. Balik ang ilang mga lands mo tong ilang gi kuan, ilang gi tawag ani ilang gi pa evict tong mga refugees sa kuan, refugees sa ilang mga territories. Si Florian, Joanna, Emilia, o si Alfred gamit ra ni sila randomly as they walk through the place na may gihatag ang mga Nazis na place na ato mag-meet tanan para ibalik sila sa Germany. So, puro siya journey nila as they go back to Germany. So, gamit ra silang upat, no, randomly, storya-storya, tell sila mga stories sa war, sa ilang life as a refugee, and so on. Rising action. So, as a journey, each character slowly reveals personal secrets and inner guilt. So, of course, you know, as long magadugay mo si Kuyog, start mo dyan mo og kanang what you call this deeper connection to each other. You're starting to talk deeply, start to know each other more. Secrets goes unveiled. So, so Joanna's secret is she carries guilt over her cousin's fate. So her cousin died in hands of the soldiers. Unfortunately, Florian is a thief. He's more of like a Nazi hater. He hates Nazis, so manang iyang istole ang mga anything related Nazis. Then na siya istole na Nazi art kay para once na mag-go back siya sa Germany or like mother siya Germany is makuha na mas baligya na niya ang pangipangabangan. Emilia on the other hand is a pregnant she is traumatized by an assault. So Emilia um is a 15-year-old girl. No, she was impregnated by a random Soviet soldier. So it's a harassment in a way, you know. And Alfred is delusional tungod lagi kay sa war. No, he's starting to be delusional. Writes imaginary letters showing his delusions. So, so one lang mga secrets. Next up is the climax. So as they won, the secure passage aboard in Wilhelm Gustave, the vessel that there was supposed to be in para ma-transfer sila. Um, on the way, nag-iun sa nila pagsud sa sa Wilhelm is naglakaw sila sa Baltic Sea, and Baltic Sea is very notorious para silang ice na pathway. Kanang kita mo anang ma-ice ang what you call this, the ocean turns to ice. So they're walking there to the, to the vessel. So after ana, tungod kay daghan mo kay tao, dili tanan maboard sa ship kay maglibog ang kay ang kuan lagi ang masudra sa ship katurang gamay ra na di kay gamay daghan na tao pero ang mga important ra na tao kanang mga soldiers, mga kuan. Then ang gibuhat ni Florian, which is he stole stuff from Nazi. He stole some documents from a dead Nazi officer, and then he pretended to be that Nazi officer so that he could go into the vessel. After that, he dragged along his friends, uh, um, Joanna, Emilia, and Alfred. So they all got aboard in the ship. So on as they were in the vessel, um, Joanna, Emilia, suddenly delivered the child. So nanganak siya random gabi ang nag-deliver random na gabi. So nanganak siya. Then later on mga pila ka hours a Soviet submarine torpedoed the ship in the freezing Baltic Sea. So gitirahan sila. Kay lagi mga refugee man sila. Basi niya na sila ipangdala na mga gamit na kuan na naigidala na gamit gikan sa Russia mo to ilang gi torpedoed ang submarine sa mga German. So panic and chaos erupt as passengers struggle to survive. So lagi nisank a ship due to the torpedo. Due to that, a lot of people died. You know, the even the main characters also was um, left on the sea. You know, struggle sila sa nila pag survive in a frozen like ocean. Like ang Baltic Sea is very cold man. Pero siya same sa Titanic. Pero siya na Titanic yun eventually. Daghan kayo na ice, daghan kayo namatay sa hypertension, and then and so on, so on. So, at pag first ato, si Floyra nakita siya na naigalutaw-lutaw na ano, what you call this, lifeboat. Iyang nakuan is isakay silang tanan. Asa anak ni Emilia, si Alfred silang tanan. Is later on mo to na later on is nakuha na sila. Nakasakay na sila. Si Alfred tuod kay kanang lagi kay I know si Alfred tuod kay lagi bugnaw ang place and delusional siya as it is siya. So motong kanang nagkuhan siya. Nag-start siya og hallucinate sa pagtanaw niya ni Emilia, itong pregnant girl. Nitanaw siya abi niya like ihatong lover back in Germany. Yan lagi kay Nazi man siya, Nazi lover. So basically racist yun si Alfred. Kita niya ni Emilia, gaabing datinga siya na, pero siya galusin niya siya. Nagtanaw siya ni Emilia. Moto niya, pagtanaw niya ni Emilia kay tinga siya ni istorya si Emilia, lahi man ng language gi istorya ni Emilia. Polish man si Emilia. Ya usay man na sa mga country nag-invade sa Germany ang Poland. Pero siya nabuang kay ano daw Polish, naibog siya Polish na girl na bawal man sa mga German kay ila lagi ng isa ko pa Polish. Moto kan pero siya nabuang yayat siya kalit sa ice. Ay sa ice sa dagat. Motong nahimo siyang ice. Namatay siya. Nahimong ice water si Alfred. So later on tungkol sa itong paglayat niya, kurag nag-shake ang kuan, nasudlan og water nila ang ilahang lifeboat. Nag-start sila gabugat. Pero sila padung malunod. Moto niya, si Emilia, nagluya na si Emilia kay lagi bago siya nanganak. Then, bugnaw kayo. Nakarealize siya na kailangan na dyan malayat isa para dili malumos ang ilang lifeboat na ilang ginasakyan. So what she did, I don't know, sinasud siya unok, iyang anak, she gave it to Fräulein, and she said, take care of my kid. Um, guide the kid in the future. Layat siya. Yung gisunod si Alfred, himo sa siyang ice water. Ambot nga no, siyang gibot, basin depressed, I don't know. But iyang nilayat siya. Namatay siya. So, moto, the following. So, many perish in the sinking, including thousands of children and refugees. See, each character faces critical choices of sacrifice, survival, and humanity in disaster. Moto akong gingon ganiha na nakuan sila na lagi kay like once nakabaw so pag-survive, and there was like floating for days eventually until the German soldiers, you know, went and rescued them a few days later. In the ending, only few characters survives to tell the story, which is the storyline of the Lithuanian girl na si Joanna. And the novel closes with a reminder of silence surrounding this forgotten tragedy and the importance of remembering lost voices. So basically, the novel was made by the author as to us to remember na what was the situation back then, post World War. Iyang gi ko na di na to dapat ni kalimtan ang mga history kay this was part like of the history na how we end up in this place, like appeal siya por siya like arc arc sa life sa history nga nung naabot sa inganiyang part. So that's the story of Salt to the Sea. So why Salt of the Sea is the title. So Salt is the Sea. It's more like a metaphor. Kabantay mo ng baka magbasog tubig niya inyobot nga asin ang tubig magadugay di ba ma-dissolve ang asin within the water mo mix siya. Puro na siya ingana, sa like instead of the dead bodies matagak sila niya mamatay sila masagos sila sa tubig. So the setting, winter 1994, 1945, World War II, East Prussia, Baltic Sea, into the ship. Characterization, so Joanna is a selfless healer. No, she, yung tabangan si Emilia o anak. Then guilt-ridden siya, or brave. Florian, mysterious, courageous, protective. He did everything para makasakay sila sa barko. Emilia is an innocent kay bata siya. And Alfred is arrogant and a blind follower of the Nazism. So, kaya Nazi siya mga kind of arrogant siya. Dapat siya on top of the world. So the conflict, man versus war. No refugee versus the chaos, the war itself. Is this man over man versus man. Man versus self, mga ilang mga struggles, each character. Man versus nature, the winter, the coldness. So the point of view, as I told, Flora and Emily and Alfred and Joanna. Style is a short, powerful chapters, multiple narrators, fast paced, simple but emotional. Is designed for young adult readers but universally appealing. So there's flashbacks, katong ilang flashback tong mga ito ilang mga past, foreshadowing na ila tong katong foreshadowing katong kabaw na sa dana, you know um, na na-strategy jud mahitabo within the future kay tapos lang sundan jud sila sa mga Russians and multiple POVs then imaginary analogs tungod ni Alfred kung delusional siya. So the symbols, there's a shoe, there's a sea and the snow and the ship itself. The sea means the life, the death, and the uncertainty of life. And there's memories. The snow, the harsh snow is the suffering of the war. Or siya kind of torture ba. Values of the story. First off, empathy for the refugees or the victims of war. So, katong victims of war, uh, na ate ko na remember sila. Importance of remembering them, na ilang sacrifices dapat atong ipagkuan. In the conclusion, so as I told you na she reminds us that history is not only shaped by generals, governments, and battles, but also by the countless ordinary lives caught in the tide of war. So she really um, made the novel just to speak, um, just to became the voice sa katong mga na sa mga nakuha sa trahedya. So That's Salt to the Sea by Group 7. Thank you, everyone. Peace out. Bye.